Welcome to the Lead, Learn, Thrive podcast by RAFA. This show is a series of conversations with interesting nonprofit and private sector leaders and those who help them do more. You will hear candid and insightful interviews that get to the heart of what makes great organizations thrive and makes impact possible.
Hi, I'm Karen Schuler, the host for today's Lead, Learn, Thrive podcast. Joining me today is Tony Cancelosi, the president and CEO of Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind. Today we're going to discuss how sustaining mission impact leads to great organizations staying great. Tony, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity for us to share a lot of things that are close and dear to my heart.
Great. So I think sustainability has its roots in the environment and ecology. I think when I think back on the term, that's where I first came across it. And over the years, I've seen organizations start to focus on organizational sustainability. And one of the evolutions that we've seen here at RAFA is we are now, rather than focusing on organizational sustainability, because if an organization is not functioning well and not high performing, that's not necessarily something to sustain, but focusing a little bit more on mission sustainability and mission impact sustainability. So, Tony, when you think about sustainability, what definition of that term comes to mind for you?
I think there's a lot of definitions that can be applied to sustainability. But in my mind, in order to have sustainability, you've got to build certain components in an organization. And it goes back to what I always say about business fundamentals. In order to have any kind of sustainability, you've got to build the internal controls, the operational efficiency, the risk management, the viability and reporting process. Because if you don't have the meat behind this of definable internal controls and operational efficiency, where does sustainability come in? It comes in where you find that you can't do the next step because you don't have the internal process, the controls that you've built. So if you want to have sustainability, you've got to go back to the roots and create that segment of it in order for you to move forward.
And so how do you balance, because often we find with organizations that they have a lot of effort and impact in terms of programs and services, but they don't always have the operational roots and internal controls necessarily in place or relevant to today's programs and services. So when you think about sustainability, how do you balance that?
It has a lot to do with the leadership. Leadership becomes a component where it can become efficient, it becomes a challenge, but the leadership has to define that, of saying what is working and what is not working, and then apply the resources to it on an ongoing basis. So when you think about the environment that sustainability creates, it's a moving part. It's moving quickly. And everybody said, wait, we got sustainability. So the question is sustainability a month? Is it 6 months? Is it 5 years? So that's the part we really have to focus in on, is how does it fit into a timeline if you build the core underneath it?
And when you think about timelines, and you're so right, our environment is changing so quickly these days. And you think about Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind and sustainability of your mission and mission impact, what type of time horizon do you all think about?
Well, think we're going to be 117 years old on May 17th. So think about a 117-year-old organization that's had to maintain a level of sustainability of who we are and what our mission is. That's the key for us as an organization, is who are we and what do we do for the community so they recognize who we are. So if you took the evolution from 1900 to 2017, it's a matter of the services that we provide to people that are lasting in their life. So if we teach somebody orientation and mobility and they are now be able to ride a bus, ride metro, we've achieved something that is part of the evolution of our organization. That'll be part of that person for a long time. That's part of our sustainability, is giving those skills. Now, if you want to apply it to a company, you think about products, you think about services, and always having to reinvent yourself. So sustainability comes in, well, how often do we have to reinvent ourselves to have that next level of growth?
And I think one of the pieces that's implicit in what you're talking about is that Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind has done a really good job maintaining its relevance. I think that's also part of sustainability. So you talked about the different services and how you can have sustainable impact. And part of it is that the organization is advancing work today differently than it did 117 years ago. So how, as an organization, do you keep an eye on the needs in the community and new advancements and staying relevant?
We really work hard at this. Our staff, Jocelyn Hunter, who's our director of development and marketing, and she's got many titles. She's always looking at what kind of feedback do we get from the people we serve. It's like, how do you get feedback when you put out a new product, right? Or if you're going to change your name of your organization, you get feedback. We do the same thing, but we do it in a human aspect of what that impact is on that person in their life. Now they can get the skills that we provide, and now they can ride Metro. They can go to a restaurant. They can go to a park. That changes their life of independence. It gives them that cultural difference. And you can apply this to any organization. You take that forward into products and services and so forth. If you don't have an impact on that consumer, they're not going to buy your product, they're not going to buy your service. So that creates somewhere the sustainability that says, well, wait a minute, the life cycle of this could be a year or 2 years. It's like an accounting process. Every year the accounting rules change, the IRS changes, and with 990s change in the nonprofit world. And if you're not up on that, you're going to miss something. Or you do your income taxes and you say, oh, I forgot to write that $10,000 charitable gift that I just gave. Well, it's too late now. So it all evolves around what I call the human aspect. Sustainability is really about the human aspect and change that we make in somebody's life. Whether it's a new iPhone, technology, it affects you personally.
And it sounds as though that's part of the culture or the values at Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind. So talk a little bit about how sort of the internal culture of the organization relates to sustainability.
75% of all of our employees are visually impaired or blind. That adds to that culture, that impact that we want to make. It's very interesting to see the 12 years that I'm going to be at CLB, how much things have changed over that period of time. If you divide the business segments that we're in, you can see somewhat, I think we have 3 or 4 different cultures. Years ago, a friend of mine and I were looking at buying companies. And every time we met with a new company that was wanted to sell, they always said, well, we have the same culture you do. Well, absolutely not. I mean, it's like, how could 2 organizations have the exact same culture? And I think for us, it's a culture of the people that work there that provide the services to people who are visually impaired and blind or deaf-blind that makes the culture work for that particular segment of our business. So if you look at our disability services, the people that serve them are committed. They've got their master's degree, they got their certification. That is their mission to serve. So that creates that culture. On the employment side, we run government contracts, significant government contracts. That culture is more about finding the right people with the right job skills and also train them to get employed and make an income. So you can start dividing that. Then you say we have low vision testing. We have great doctors that provide those services. So that's another passion, another culture. So we're a multicultural organization. And I think one of the mistakes a lot of corporations make in my past history is it's not just one culture. It's multiple cultures that create that sustainability because each one can move at a different pace.
And so, as the leader of Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind, how do you coordinate and connect and integrate across those different cultures?
We hire good people. And we listen to what they tell us. That is very important to any organization, that when you hire the right people, and you might say, well, what's the right people? Who are the right people? It's people who come to you, or if you're out looking for new people, that respond in a very positive way, and they're passionate about what they do. They've got a good educational background. They're the right people. Then you integrate them in. And I think that gives us the sustainability that we have good people running, senior management running the different organizations all the way down into our government contracts. It's that passion, that desire. And I think we miss this in a lot of corporate environments because big corporations are so busy about the bottom line,
Right.
what is our stock selling for today? And so they miss some of that internal infrastructure and culture that creates sustainability.
Great. You spoke a few minutes ago about some of the changes that you've seen at Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind over the past 12 years. And I think one of the pieces that's also part of sustainability is organizations really taking a look at the work that they're advancing and sometimes having to make some difficult decisions around potentially sunsetting or phasing back some services or programs, the potential to potentially partner with other organizations in the community. So how do you approach that side of the sustainability issue?
That part is so crucial to any organization, and it's why do Fortune 500 companies buy other companies? What are the reasons why they buy other companies? And think about why Corporation A will buy Corporation B. It might be for market share, it might be financial, it might be more market share in the sense of people and so forth. We're not any different. And so we have made a policy at Columbia Lighthouse that we would not cut programs that affect our consumers, the people that we serve, that need that independence. We've made that commitment. I've made that commitment 12 years ago. And so we've looked for alternative ways, like our government contracting, our accessibility technology that we're now developing, looking for other ways to fund these other areas that need to be funded. And now we're looking for partners, and we've just signed a couple agreements with organizations to give us more depth and breadth in the technology that we have. And that is starting to work. I think in any growth potential, you have to create good partnerships, but smart partnerships that you see that both parties are going to gain, not just one. And when two parties see that both are going to get equal share, it's a good partnership. So it's, yes, finding partnerships, relationships are crucial for us to be around another 117 years.
And any experience with taking some programs that perhaps were starting to fade away or be less relevant, and finding ways to either reposition that program or to make the decision that actually doing the service in that way wasn't really the best way forward for the people you're serving?
But in a normal environment, you're always looking at the bottom line. How profitable and how long can we afford to run that? We look at it more on the basis of human impact. How much more do we have to give that person to be sufficient to go out into the community and be part of the society that we're all part of? And so we look at that and we say, okay, if that's kind of shriveling down, how do we improve it? We get together and we talk about strategy. How do we make that better? And we get input from the whole staff. to make it better. We just don't make a corporate decision or go to the board of directors and say, well, that we're losing money, we're going to dump that. That's the wrong approach. You know, a lot of big companies, as soon as things start to not work, they cut back on all their expenses, they cut people out, and it's like buying stock and then selling it and then saying, oh, I'm going to buy back. Well, you lost that momentum. So it's keeping us within the rhythm of the organization to know what we need and how do we fill it and backfill it. It doesn't always work, it's not always perfect, but at least we're aware of it, we talk about it.
Great. You spoke a little bit about engaging the staff in those conversations. What do you think the board's role and responsibility is around mission sustainability?
It's very crucial. I mean, we don't have a very large board of directors. We have what I call a functional board. Each one of our board members have a certain function that they provide to us on an ongoing basis, and the things that we do, we keep them engaged. And it's very important to make sure that when you're engaging board members, they are part of the business solution, not that they're bringing their business model to the table versus your business model. And so we have our board members, and I'll give you an example. We just brought someone on our board from IBM. Lots of marketing experience. She is now integrating with Jocelyn, who's our senior director of marketing, and giving us ideas. Not executing, giving us ideas to kind of fine-tune the things we want to do. So board members are crucial from the financial side to the strategy side to the human aspect side, and their fiduciary responsibility to make sure we're financially doing it right. Because if we're not working together, most companies lose sustainability through dysfunctional boards because everybody's now trying to take you in different directions and away from your mission. Now, there are legitimate things. If you're not communicating with your board, then you have a problem. But as long as you're engaging them along the way, and that's why we only have 9 people on our board. You can't do it with 20 people on your board. You can't do it with 15 people on your board. So board engagement has to be at a level of functionality.
Great. So if you were going to talk with an executive perhaps new to an organization, and that organization had not really engaged in sustainability planning or thinking about what it might do to assess and plan for mission sustainability, what advice would you give to that executive around how to sort of initiate this conversation in his or her organization?
I think the most important thing is, how do you engage your management team? How do you engage your employees so that they feel they're part of the growth and sustainability of the mission? Without them, you can't do it. Leaders have to be humble about what they do and how they do it so that they can pass it on to the next management team to say, okay, we're all in. If you don't have the team behind you, you're not going to get the level of sustainability that you want. You might get some, but it's very important that people trust each other that they're going to gain this together.
Great. Any other thoughts around sustainability that you want to offer our listeners today?
It's great. Sustainability is great. You just need to know how to do it and maintain it. I mean, that's the key. And it's all of the ingredients are there for us to do what we call growth, sustainability, upward mobility. We talk about upward mobility with our people that we place in jobs so that they're not just doing the same thing, but they have a chance to grow. And when they grow, we grow, and that's where sustainability is. And I think it's all the things that we want it to be as part of our culture and everything, but it's something that we have to really work at. It's not something that's just going to happen. And it's a lot of companies, they get a big shot in the arm and they're off and running. So now what? So I guess my last comment is that it's a great thing to have sustainability, but you really have to be smart about it and build the infrastructure, the business aspect of it to make it really work. And judge it. I mean, judge it along the way. Set some parameters to say, right, okay, 1 to 3, we want to be at 2. 1 to 3, we want to be at 1. and have those goals and put it part of your strategic plan.
Great, great. Tony, thanks again for being with us today and for your time. I enjoyed the conversation and discussion, and you've certainly given our listeners a lot to think about, and we will look forward to potential future conversations with you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for listening today. For more conversations in the Lead, Learn, Thrive series, and for additional information about the topics discussed in this episode, please visit raffa.com/podcast. That's RAFFA.com/podcast. The RAFFA Learning Community is a resource that aims to connect, inspire, and empower you with the knowledge to do more. Let us know what you want to hear, and we will work to make it happen.